The next part is cutting the piece of plywood for the top of your spanking bench. You're just cutting the wood to the length that you want. So the longest part here, and you need to cut it to the width of your pieces here. So measure it out. How wide you need it to be. And if you guys are curious to the length that this guy is, I'm gonna make it a tiny bit longer with this plywood over here. And that is 24 inches. And however thick your pieces, depending on how well you did your crosses. So it's not really an issue, but I want to point it out in case this happens to you. My pieces are just like slightly off at the top from one another. So when it comes down to the board that's going to go on top, it's like, I don't know if you can see this. I drew this out. So one side is going to be a smidge, itty bitty, little bit thinner than the other side, because I don't really feel like going through and redoing that whole piece again to make them exactly perfect. So this is what I'm doing instead. I don't know if you can see the lines. So I marked the center point for each side, and then the little bit that I need to take off, I'm just gonna cut that piece off and make one side a itsy bitsy little bit skinnier and do it that way instead of redoing the whole project. So I just want to point that out because you guys know when I make a mistake or something is slightly jacked up, I tell you how I'm gonna fix it. So improvise and overcome. It's not really that big of a deal, but in case you run into the same issue, just do that. Now I've marked the center of the bottom pieces on both, because on the bottom here, across, I'm going to be attaching a piece to keep it more stable along the bottom, to keep it from rocking back and forth. Now, the insides of both of these are done, so I can stick something, a 1 by 1 between that space, so to keep it stable. Look at this. Just look at it. Look at that. All that. Definitely does not rock back and forth as much. Now, I still need to get the sides of this on. And when I do this part to place the wood on the sides, I'm gonna make another joint like this up here to keep it from rocking back and forth there also. And that will be attached to this. Like you see how I started to chisel this piece out. I was kind of doing some examples. So I will be doing, like this will actually flip to the other side, but just so you guys can see what the hell I'm talking about. So we'll have that piece that goes straight across on the inside and our board that'll lock in like this. For this next part, to get the piece of wood figure out where I want to put it on here, I literally just lay on top of this and mark it where I feel like my knees are comfortable. So I drew my line. Now what I need to do is I'm going to take my level And sorry that I'm not giving you guys exact measurements, but there's no really good way for me to do that because I'm doing this custom. So you guys can figure out how you would like to level your stuff and where exactly you want to put it at. We'll double check this. Beautiful. Okay, so that's where I want my lines to start so that I can get this piece ready to bring across here. Now that I have that figured out, I'm going to take my piece of wood. So this is already cut off from the side. I know that I'm going to need 6 inches. I'm just going to draw on top of my board. From there, I'm going to look back at this. And then what I'm going to do is, from that point, I'm going to mark a line on this side from where I need to add 6 more inches. And I'm going to cut this. Now I need to find the center of this, so I'm going to measure it, mark it in the center, and I'm going to chisel my first piece out for that board that's going to go all the way from here to here, from this attachment. Boom. Here is a close-up. So 6 inches from the side, 6 inches from the side. You can see where I drew my lines here. This is going to be where I do another board like this, all the way to the other side. And now I need to draw on this board really quick. I'm gonna make sure this is still level before I fully commit. So, she's level. Now, let's go back, move this. What I'm going to do is I need to mark where I need to chisel this piece of wood. Uh-oh, what happened? Off level. There we go. Make sure it's lined up. So now I'm going to mark my line. Mark my line. And we're not chiseling this piece. I don't want to chisel this piece anymore because I don't want to ruin the wood. And now I can chisel that out and attach this to the side. And we'll repeat that same process over again on the other side. Here's all of the locking joints. This is not the wood that I'm going to be using for the sides of this. This is just scrap wood. So there'll be pieces that go on here. Boom. And then from there, after I put, like, honestly, me being on this without the screws in it was a bold move, but everything is locking together so nicely without it. I felt comfortable doing it. But next is actually getting this whole thing wood glued together and screwed together and all the rest of it, and doing the upholstery. So yay. And also getting the other wood to put on here. But really quick, let's do a close-up. So these gaps will go away as soon as I screw everything together and do all of that. But yeah, so the inside, this looks so freaking good. I'm so excited. It's basically done. This is what's going on. I had to go to Harbor Freight and get these Forstner bits, whatever, because I'm missing a bunch of them and didn't have the right size for my dowel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use these bits on all of these points first. Then I'm going to put screws through those areas and then cover it with a dowel. Like, I'm going to cut little pieces of dowel to make it look like I used dowels on all of those parts, but I really didn't. It's just for the aesthetics. And I will be gluing all of this together. So when I stain it, guys, don't have a hissy fit that I didn't take it apart, stain it, and then put it together. I need the glue to be as sturdy as possible. And if I stain it first, it's gonna mess with the glue. So we're not doing that, okay? I made these little buttons out of the dowel. So you can see here on this point, this point, this point, and this point, I did not use a dowel to secure it. I actually put screws. So now all I have to do is put a little bit of wood filler in there. Boom. We're gonna take this piece, this little button here, and just pop it in. Boom. So these pieces down here were actually secured with the dowels, but these weren't. But it looks like it. Isn't that so cool? Just a little trick. Next part of this, I'm going to attach the top and the side pieces here. So the chest piece and the kneeling pads. I wanted to show this. I stripped one of my screws on accident. Go sandpaper. So I put some wood glue in each one of those whole pieces so that, you know, it fixes it. Now with this, originally, this was my idea, and I went to the store several times to find the screws and nut pieces that I need, and I got the wrong size twice. So I'm giving up on doing that for the side pieces here. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to use that same dowel method that I did on the sides here, where I just literally, I'm gonna take a little bit off the top. I'm gonna use this bit, which is the same size as the dowel, I'm gonna screw the boards directly to the frame and then use the dowel pieces to cover it up to make it look pretty, because I give up. But if you wanna make this easy on yourself, get the right size. Now that everything is screwed together on top, you can see I have my buttons. I'm gonna put some wood filler in here and push the buttons down inside of each one of these holes. I do want to point out, I know I probably already pointed this out, but I've been making this damn thing for a week, okay? So I can't remember everything I've said. This is not made to be taken apart because I want it to be sturdy. So that's why I'm doing all this stuff now, and then I'll stain it later, okay? But now I'm gonna get my wood filler. I'm gonna fill in each one of these holes just a tiny bit. And then after I do that, I will take this. Look at this. And it just goes right in there. Just look at that. Just look at it. And boom. So now it looks like I used a dowel there. Neat little trick, right? Boop. Now for the rest. Now the wood needs to dry again, and then I will sand it again and then stain it. So it's pretty much done.